everybody. Welcome back to the Royal Read. I am so glad you decided to stop by and see what I'm reading on. But before we get started, you already know, go right down here. Yes, look around, find that subscribe button, and go ahead on and subscribe. And while you're in there, hit your notification bell too so you'll know when I upload or when I just want to pop in. And give me a thumbs up to fight my nemesis, the beast, that algorithm. It drags me. It just drags me. It does. And right about here, that's our join button. That's for channel memberships. And if you choose to become a channel member and a part of the reading club, you will be supporting my channel to grow, to improve, and to continue. And I will be so grateful, so thankful, so over the moon happy that you chose my channel to support. Also, if you want to do a one-time donation, our super thanks button is right over there, and all donations to the channel is always greatly appreciated. Also, I want to do a shout out. I want to shout out LB. She know who she is. She sent me a cash app. And LB, I am so sorry it has taken me so long to give you this shout out. I never look on the cash app because nobody ever send me any cash app, so I don't look. So I missed it, but I appreciate it so much. I appreciate your support for my channel and just that you saw something in my channel that you wanted to support. It's just everything. So thank you, LB. Thank you so much for the donation to my channel. Also, I want to say happy birthday to Church Nellie. Today is Church Nellie's birthday. Church Nellie is just she is a huge part of this community. And we love her so much. And I hope that she had the very best birthday ever. So happy birthday, Church Nellie. Happy birthday. All right, with all that said, let's get to the read, y'all. Let's get to the read. And y'all know when I am putting the read together, what I do, I hit these internet streets. And that's exactly what I did today. I was up and down and all around these internet streets, looking around corners, up under cars, peeping in windows, trying to find out what the squatties are talking about today. I was over to Blue Sky, and the squatties are talking about just all this nonsense about, this is the season for them to talk about how Harry and Meghan is snubbed for Christmas from over there in that viper's den, that that scorpion nest. I don't know why anybody would think somebody would want to give up their holidays just to be over there in that scorpion den. I don't know. But here we are again and again and again. We talked about it yesterday on my podcast that it is so ridiculous how they bring this up every year. But that's what the squads are talking about. We're going to talk a little bit about it too. And what else are the squatties talking about? There, I'll tell you one thing that the squatties are doing, and it's so funny over on Blue Sky. They are taking up all the names of all of the trolls, the hags, and the minions. They're taking the names up so when the minions and the trolls and the hags come over there to try to use the names that they've been using over on X, they can't use them because the squatties already got them. It is so funny. It's so funny. And the squatties are posting it where they say, you can't use that name. You can't use that name. Is that the most funniest thing? I swear, leave it to squatties to be inventive and to be petty. I love it. I love it. I had so much fun with that. I thought that was just hilarious. They get over there and want to use the same names that they used on X to spread and spew their bow. And when they get over there, they can't use it because the squatties done got it. I love it. Also, I was over to where was I? I was over to Instagram. The squatties are being the squatties over on Instagram. They're talking about everything, and they're also talking about this. And they're talking about, just a whole lot of stuff in an article that was in the Daily Mail. This seems like this is the season to regurgitate old stories, and they have to regurgitate old stories because they have nothing when it comes to Harry and Meghan. And that is what the Daily Mail has done, has reached back and got an old story out of Tom Bowell Movement's book. And we're going to talk about that a little bit. And let's see, I was over at TikTok. Nothing really much going on over at TikTok that I can see. And then, of course, I came back to X, formerly known as Twitter, my home away from home for now. And they are talking about pretty much the same thing. They are talking about all of this nonsense. Every year we have to go through this nonsense about this tradition that the British media, this dance that they go through every year about Christmas, and it's just so annoying at this point. It's been 6 years already. Can we move on at least from this? But this particular squatty says this facts, 6 years. It'll be 6 years since Prince Harry and Meghan Markle spent Christmas in the UK. 6 years, 6 years. We're past half of a decade already, and we still are stuck right here again this year. It is the most ridiculous thing. And then they go on to say toxic British press. Yes, but it is a holiday tradition, and they act like it's a tradition. I'm telling you, you can set your watch by the fact that they are going to come up with these stories this time of year. I have never saw anything like it before in my life, and this is the 6th year. And it says toxic British press, yes, but it is a holiday tradition for us to pretend that Harry would much rather leave his kids, and I'm going to put his wife in there too, to be with Camilla, Charles, William, and Kate during this time. They're his tormentors, especially Meghan's tormentors, Meghan's abusers. So they would much rather leave their home and their cozy life surrounded by family and friends, because I would not be surprised how much family would be there and friends to go over there to that scorpion den where they would be stung over and over and go over and over again. Can you imagine how many stories would be planted if Harry and Meghan went over there for Christmas? Can you imagine how many lies that would be told? I'm telling you, I would not be surprised if the Daily Fail and the Daily Express and the Mirror, I wouldn't be surprised if they ran out of ink if Harry and Meghan went over there, because the stories would just be coming out, just flying out of the printers, because they would know that those particular papers would sell. And that's what it's all about. And the British press is missing Harry and Meghan. So they're trying to get their little bite wherever they can. And every year they have to take this little bite. They have to pick the low hanging fruit, like I said yesterday. They have to. And it's not just the British press either, because Marie Claire, who just had an interview with Meghan, absolutely wrote a story about this same nonsense. I mean, it is just ridiculous. It is, at this point, stop it. I'm going to put this up. And this is another one. It says Prince Harry, Meghan Markle excluded from royal family Christmas plan report. Can you believe this? It says for the 6th year in a row, finally, they can count. For 6 years, for 6 years in a row, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex will skip the royal family holiday traditions. They gonna have traditions because Megan said that they are making their own traditions. That's what she said in her Marie Claire interview. She just don't want to have nothing to do with them. Meghan has bowed out. But yeah, here we go again. And this particular squatter said this breaking. Finally, the royal family has come to terms with the fact that their allegedly olive branch are in full extinction. Just a reminder, the supposedly irrelevant couple has always celebrated Christmas away from the UK. Harry and Meghan did the Christmas walk 2 years. One year she was engaged. She came over there, and it was right before their wedding. And then she did it again when she was pregnant with Archie. And she was just about wanting to unalive herself during that time. Why in the world would Megan ever want to go back to those scorpions over there so they can continue to sting her? Now, how are you going to go in a scorpion den and somehow be so gullible to think that they're not going to sting you? Harry and Meghan know better than that. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to put this up, and it says at this point, the toxic British media and the royal rodents are laughing stocks with their every recycled snubbing and will they, won't they crap. What about accepting that Harry and Meghan are peacefully planning their sixth family Christmas with their own family traditions away from the Windsor cult? Get over yourselves. That's what I'm saying. Get over it. Can we move on? But one thing I have learned, evidently, they don't have the let's move on gene over there. At least the press doesn't. Because, like I said, even today, every Sunday, I said every Sunday they have to have some kind of story about Harry and Meghan. They had nothing. Nobody had anything to offer up. So they went back and got an old story from Tom Bowell Movement's book and regurgitated that. This is what these people at the Daily Mail has done. They refuse to move on. And I'm gonna tell y'all, I saw a panel today. It was on that Sun, that Sun panel that they have, that show. And I'm telling you, it had people on there that literally was crying about Harry, talking about when they went on tour with him and how spectacular he was. And you really can't blame Meghan because he always wanted to leave us. I'm telling you, whew, it was something to see. I have never saw anything like it before in my life. I mean, it's just crazy to me. But yeah, so they do not have the move on gene. And then this particular squatty reposted that and said, indeed, it's over. Let's go. Why don't you, British toxic media and all the haters and trolls, move on? Move on. But we all know they have an inability to do so. I'm just saying. So Kaiser, I guess Kaiser saw all of this going on. And like I said, it also was in the Daily Mail, but she found it in People. Yes, People too. People magazine decided to join into this nonsense. So Kaiser, the way she usually does, she does an article about an article, and that is what we're going to talk about. And I'm going to put it up here, and it says the Sussexes have not received an invitation to Sandringham for Christmas. Okay. Okay. For 6 years, they hadn't received an invitation. Who was expecting them to receive an invitation? I'm sure Harry and Meghan weren't expecting it because they know exactly who they dealing with. They know who that family is. And like I said, who would want to go in a scorpion's den to get stung over and over again? But let's get into the article. It says, judging from the wealth of no ish Sherlock royal stories coming out in recent days, I feel strongly that Buckingham Palace courtiers did a major briefing for the royal rota during Thanksgiving week here in America. There were widespread confirmations that Prince William and Kate would be joining the King for Christmas in Norfolk, and confirmations that Prince Andrew was also welcome at Sandringham. Can you believe that? Now, I understand that he is your brother, but he has some pretty uh, damning accusations that has been directed towards him. And yet and still, he is more than welcome to walk up the path to Christmas, the Christmas walk, but not Harry and Meghan, not Archie and Lily. Not saying I would want them to be able to do that, because we all, like I said, we all know who those people are. If they were different people, yeah, but we know who they are. We have talked about it at length who Charles is. And so all I can say is I think they deserve each other. I'm saying have Andrew, have at it, because that's pretty much who they are. But let's go on. As long as the palace courtiers was confirming royal Christmas plans, why not also suggest to Richard Eden that the Sussexes would be welcome back? And we talked about that in my last podcast. Well, they pretty much are saying out loud now that the Sussexes would be welcome back. But it is a big but in that. But they would have to give up everything that they have accomplished in the US, houses and everything, in order to go back and let Charles and William put their feet on their necks. Yes, that is the stipulation for Harry and Meghan to come back. Y'all have to give up everything just so you can have the privilege of us scapegoating you, abusing you, lying on you, planning stories on you on the daily, and you being the whooping boy for the family. These people are crazy. I'm telling you. If no, I would say if mental illness was a family, that's all I'm going to say. It says, and of course, until that happens, the Sussexes are never going to be invited to spend Christmas at Sandringham. It's ridiculous. And this is what was said in People. It says Prince Harry and Meghan Markle will not be joining the royal family for Christmas in Sandringham this year. A source tells People. People should have came to me. I could have told them that Harry and Meghan weren't going to be at Sandringham. I knew that. This is the 6th year. Things hadn't changed at all. We know how Charles feels about Harry's lawsuits. We all know that. So why in the world would things change? I'm just saying, but okay. It says a source tells People that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have not received an invitation to this year's royal Christmas gathering at Sandringham. The couple, who are expected to spend the holidays in the U.S., haven't taken part in Christmas for the royal family since 2018, the year they were married. That's what I just said. They only did that Christmas walk twice. One when they were engaged, one when they were married. And after that, they got the hell out of Dodge. Thank God. Thank God. But yeah, so why? Why are we talking about this? But let's go on. It says Harry 40 and Meghan 43 were also not invited to Trooping of the Colors in June of this year. Really? Really, People magazine? Are we really going to act like we don't know? This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's all for clicks and views. That's all this is about. They know Harry and Meghan's name bring in the clicks and the views. That is one of the reasons why I like to go and see what Kaiser is talking about, or if she's written an article about an article. Because, like I said, my New Year's resolution is not to give them a click if I don't have to. And People Magazine writing this nonsense right here doesn't deserve any kind of click from me. I'm just saying. It says the annual birthday celebration for King Charles, which came a month after Harry and his father didn't meet up when the Duke of Sussex was in the UK for the 10th anniversary celebration of the Invictus Game. What is this? A review of when Harry had met with his father? Are we going to go down the list? What is the problem? But all I can say is, why are you making this list? You need to make sure that you say it wasn't Harry that wouldn't meet. That was Charles nonsense, having all kinds of garden parties and making up excuses the reason why he could not see his son. That has nothing to do with Harry. Why don't you put that in the article? At the time, a spokesperson for Prince Harry attributed the missed reunion to the King's full schedule, amidst an ongoing tension between Harry and both his father Charles and his older brother, Prince William. Prince William, his wife Kate Middleton, and their three children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, are set to spend Christmas at Sandringham, though both Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace, where the Prince and Princess of Wales' office is located, declined to comment on the Christmas guest list. Like, who cares? And all of that was written about Harry and Meghan so we could get down there to find out about William and Kate. They use Harry and Meghan all the time for nonsense like this. And do you not think it's all people? This is a calculated technique that Kensington Palace use, and so does Buckingham Palace, because they understand that they do not have the shine. So they try to impose themselves and bite off of Harry and Meghan shine every opportunity they get. And this right here was an opportunity for them to try to insert William and Kate and Charles and Camilla into the conversation, because they know that these people are irrelevant. But the ones that they call irrelevant are the relevant ones, are the ones that they have to put their name, pair their names with the others in order for anybody to pay any attention. Nobody cares about what their schedule are over there. I'm just saying. And it says, while this is not a surprise, King Charles hasn't invited the Sussexes for any holidays or birthday parties since his reign began. Thank you. It's worth pointing out how all of this is obviously coming from the same series of palace briefings. In the same briefings, they confirmed that Charles invited Andrew and the Yorks to Sandringham because Charles' rationality is that Christmas is a family holiday and is all a private celebration. Yet, when potential olive branch could have been offered to the Sussexes using the same private and family rationale, it's rejected. It's rejected. But I really feel, this is my thoughts. I really feel that Megan on the low key is happy about all of this, because when Megan did that deep bow, she was through with them folks. After the Queen's funeral and the way they absolutely gave their butt for Megan to kiss, Megan said, "I'm done with this and I'm bowing out." And so, although Harry might feel a different kind of way, and if he does, he really need to go on back to therapy a little bit more. He ain't finished with that therapy. I'm just telling you. Because if he feel any different about those folks over there, he really need to continue that therapy, and he need to up it a day or two a week, because I really feel that Meghan is done. She's absolutely done. After they gave her their butt to kiss, Meghan said, "Bet, I'm done with you." But let's go on. For reason, follow my train of thought here. I've always been shocked by Charles' inability to manipulate the Sussex situation into his favor. He could publicly invite the Sussexes and say on the record that he would love nothing more than to see Archie and Lily for Christmas. Then, if the Sussexes reject the invitation, they would look like a hole, and Charles would look like a magnanimous grandfather who just wanted to put pettiness aside for the holidays. Instead, Charles looked petty and hateful as always. Where is the lie? Where is the lie? And the reason he doesn't do that, Kaiser, the reason that Charles just doesn't play that game, because he knows that Harry and Meghan know what the game is and probably would call him on it. And he really don't want Harry and Meghan and Archie and Lily to show up at Sandringham, because he knows that the British media and the world media will be tramping all over that place. It would be so much media there. They would probably have media trucks there, because that is the kind of shine, that is the kind of eyeballs that the Sussexes bring. And don't say you're gonna bring Archie and little Lilybeth. He don't want that kind of heat, because they are so emotionally crippled. These people are so emotionally retarded that they're jealous of those little kids. They really are. So that is the reason why he doesn't do that, Kaiser, and take advantage of that PR that he could get from the Sussexes, because he knows that while he's playing checkers, Harry and Meghan is going to be playing chess. And they're more likely to call him on his BS. And he don't want that kind of smoke that's going to come for that family of four showing up at Sandringham. That's why. I'm just saying. I ran to the comments of this particular story that Kaiser wrote, and here is some of the comments, and we're going to discuss. And the first one, it says, "So even cancer has not softened his heart towards his own son, Meghan, and the two adorable grandchildren, and yet this man is a father in law, a grandfather, and the head of the church." No, cancer hasn't softened him, because I am yet to believe that he has it. I believe it was to get the stench of racism off of him for being racist towards his own grandchildren. That wasn't a good look for him. Eggs was flying over his head. So he had to come up with cancer, him and Kitty Cat. So, what I believe is that no, cancer that he doesn't have, probably, possibly, I y'all, because y'all know I go back and felt forth with Charles, but possibly the cancer that he has not softened his heart. Charles is a trash father. He's a trash grandfather. He's a trash man. He is just trash. And he has shown that to be true time and time again. And this particular time is no different. Charles is trash. This particular commenter says this, it says, "For people who are obsessed with PR and how everything looks, they are extremely bad at it." That is the truth. That is the truth. It says shunning your son and his family is not a good look. Allowing the only biracial member of the family to get abused is not a good look. Books will be written about how badly the Windsors handle all of this. And it will be. Charles is going to go down in history, and all three Charles, King Charles, were trash. I'll tell you what, I think Queen Elizabeth foresaw that, Charles was going to be trash. That's why she named him Charles, because the other two, King Charles, was trash. And now look at him. And this particular commenter said something that reminded me of something that Charles had said. And it's true. It says, don't forget that Chuck was reassured that the public would not be upset if Harry and his wife and children were Killed. I'm not even going to say that word. And y'all remember that was in that paperwork when Harry went for his security. And that is the reason and the justification Charles gave, the reason why he didn't feel that Harry needed security, because the people would not be upset if something happened to Harry and his family. Charles said that. That is in the court record. When I keep saying that Charles is trash, sometimes I forget all the trashy shit that he has done. Now tell me that is not trash. Tell me that is not a trash father to actually put that in the court record. That's why I said if I was Harry and Meghan, and I don't think we got to worry about Meghan. Why would you want to be over there with someone who has actually said that in court? And like I said, if Harry hadn't seen enough and heard enough by now, he really need to up those therapy sessions, because he really needs some more therapy. Because if he can't figure out that these people mean him no good, because I had forgot about that. How low can you be? Oh, I'm just saying. Mm. And all right, I'm going to read this comment, and this is going to be the last one, but they are some good comments, and they're so thought provoking. But I tell you, I'm still back there in that last comment. I had forgot Charles had said that in court documents. Oh, trash, trash. But let's go on. It says, it's all so ridiculous. I can't imagine taking a what 10-hour flight from the US to the UK with two young children in tow to spend Christmas with family that hates you. That hate you. At least one of whom is a known PDF file. We all know what that is. PDO. I wouldn't let Andrew anywhere near my children. Thank you very much. Seriously, who would volunteer for any of this? I'm telling you. Why in the world would anybody want to take a 10-hour flight to go and be in a scorpion's den to be stung over and over and over again? I don't understand. But like I said, oh, and they really think that that's some kind of flex. They really do. They think you being invited over there is some kind of flex. Somehow snubbing Harry and Meghan is some kind of flex. Who would want to be over there with Charles and Camilla, that horse? And we all know what kind of moral human being she is, of low moral standards that she is. Who would want to be over there with them? And William, who's sitting across the table from William, someone who absolutely hates you for no reason but you be you, your achievements, and your ability to call him out on his BS, him and his little nonsense kitty cat. Who would want to do that? I mean, it is just mind blowing that these many stories come out that they don't really run through the process of why would Harry and Meghan would even want to be over there and why they have chose not to, even when they could have been, they chose not to. When they absolutely could have walked that Christmas walk, Harry and Meghan was in Canada. They didn't want to have nothing to do with it anymore. So why in the world would they want to now? It's as if they have no critical thinking skills in that UK press. It's ridiculous. That's all I can say. This it says Charles doesn't want the Sussexes there because they would steal the show. Even if they didn't participate in the walk to and from church, the media coverage would be all about them. Charles is petty, jealous man. Where is the lie? And where is the lie that, like I said, they would shut that place down if little Archie with his little suit on and Lilybeth with her little cute little dress and her little knee-high socks showed up with their little red hair and walked down that path to church. I'm telling you, the British press would all defecate on themselves. All of them would absolutely have to go home, take a shower, and put on new clothes because they wouldn't be able to handle it there. I'm telling you, they would not be able to handle it. And they're not the only ones. William, Kitty Cat, probably Charlotte too. Charlotte is at that age now, and George. I don't think George cares. He doesn't seem like he even at the point where he's caring yet. Really, none of them. But William would care for them, and Kitty Cat. That is where the jealousy is. And Charles and his old concubine would absolutely care too. Who would have knew? Who would have knew? I didn't even know how deep and petty the jealousy ran until Australia. I didn't know. I didn't know. But we all know what happened in Australia coming down that opera house steps. Who would do that except a jealous, petty, petty man? Hating on your son, jealous. Him and that old woman of his. I'm just saying. It says, as to not invited snub story, just a normal rinse and repeat nonsense that is going to happen for every major royal event in the years ahead. Where is the lie? We're going to have to suffer through this nonsense because they are just never, ever going to get over the fact that Harry and Meghan rejected them. Rejected them. They cannot handle that rejection. It hurts too bad. So they have to project it onto Harry and Meghan. Try to get it off of them. I'm just saying. I have to do this one. This one said 100%. Yes, Chuck and Seabiscuit. And if you know, if you know what Seabiscuit was a famous racing horse. And we all know who Seabiscuit is. And to what Seabiscuit is to Charles. His horse, of course. It says, yes, Chuck and Seabiscuit don't want the charismatic Sussex family in the UK at all, let alone Christmas. Also, they know that they are in the wrong and are too proud and too bigoted to admit it. Where is the lie? I'm telling you, they cannot take accountability for what they have done. Look at Camilla. Look at Charles's horse. When that particular documentary came out, she has taken to her bed and we have not saw her since. They can dish it out all day, but they can't take a little bit, a small portion of what they have done to Harry and Meghan. They cannot take the exposure. They can't take the heat. And they're right. And they will not admit that they are wrong. Harry and Meghan just need to leave them folks alone. And like I said, who in the world would want to go over there and eat them people's food? We all know that on this particular podcast, we have been preaching about not eating them people's food. I would not eat there. I would not put a mouthful of anything in my mouth or my children's mouth. Harry and Meghan don't need to be anywhere close to them, especially nowhere near any food that them people is serving up. I'm just saying. Seriously, the Windsors look terrible acting this way. The press won't write the truth about the tampon twosome while Chuck is on this earth, but when he's gone, it will be written. I'm gonna put this up, and it says that story about Harry's friends proved once again that Meghan got him out of a toxic environment. And what she's talking about this particular article right here, and it was over there in the Daily Fail, and it says I did give him that click because I couldn't find it nowhere else. But boy, did I hate to give him that click, but. This is what the article said. It says the moment Prince Harry's Eton friends realized that Meghan Markle would be trouble as they whispered that the royal was nuts to be dating a woke spoil sport. Y'all remember this story when Meghan supposedly met some of Harry's friends and they were saying some really racist and bigoted things, and Meghan called them out on it. She said, not in front of me. So this is the same story. It came out of Tom Bowers' book. And so we're going to get into it a little bit, but not very much, but because it's regurgitated. But and you know that they have to have a Harry and Meghan story to try to push out to actually sell some papers on Sunday. They going to have a Harry and Meghan story on Sunday. And even if they have to reach back all the way to what's love got to do with it to get it, they'll do that too. And they pretty much reached all the way back to that. It says following Harry's decision to step down from royal duty in 2020. Whew, they have used that phrase since 2020. I'm telling you. And moved to California with Meghan. He has lost touch with many of his old associates. Well, there's a reason why he has lost touch with these people. They're bigots, they're racist, they're vulgar, they are insensitive to other people who are not like them. And Harry is not that person. He don't want to be around that because he has a wife that is a person of color. He has children who are of African descent. And he is not going to have all that nonsense around them. So, what is your point? But let's go on. The prince is now said to be lonely on the other side of the Atlantic, with his best friend now being reportedly being his longtime security guard. What is wrong with that? This man has been with him since he was literally a boy and have been by his side to guide him, to protect him. Why would he not be his best friend? Because he knows that this man has his best interest at heart. When Harry left, he left with him. He stepped out on faith that Harry and Meghan was going to do what they set out to do. And he went with them. Why wouldn't he be Harry's best friend? I'm just saying. It said prior to, and I'm not going to say that word because that MEG XIT, that is a sexist word, and I'm not going to say that. So it said prior to that, Harry's oldest and closest pals were from his days in Eton College, but his friendship circle first got distant after they met Meghan, and she reprimanded them over jokes they made about transgender people and feminism. Why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she? According to the book, following the episode that alarmed pals whispered Harry was effing nuts to be dating an actress, trying to be disparaging, saying a actress, who they said acted princely, woke, and had no sense of humor. So you don't have any sense of humor when you don't think things are funny at other people's expense. Shooting has been a long-time hobby of the prince, and he was looking forward to joking around, bantering, and drinking with his friends. With the queen's permission, the party descended on the 20,000-acre Norfolk estate, which has some of the finest shooting locations in England, along with their wives and girlfriends. Most of the crowd was old Eton's and was all bonded by common assumption, principles, and loyalty. According to Tom Bauer, I told you it was his book, in his 2022 book, Revenge, Meghan and Harry and the War Between the Windsors. See, they reach way back to get this particular story to have something to write about and have something in the Sunday paper because Harry and Meghan has served up dust to them over there. And that includes Charles, Camilla, William, and Kate. They have no more stories to give them because Harry and Meghan don't have any kind of contact with them. What is going on with Harry and Meghan? They find it out when we find it out. Sometimes we find it out before they do. So they have nothing. Harry is starving them to death. They had to go back to Tom Bauer's book from 2022 to get this story, to regurgitate it, because this is the same story that they told back then. The plan was to meet for dinner on Friday night, go out shooting on Saturday, and leave after lunch on Sunday. Bauer wrote in his best-selling book. That was not a best-selling book. I object. I object. That was not a best-selling book. And plus, it was filled with lies. Ugh, lies. And this might be a lie, but anyway. Bowers write in his best-selling book, he had not anticipated Meghan's reaction. Their jokes involving sexism, feminism, and transgender people ricocheted around the living room and dining room. And they really think this is some kind of condemnation on Meghan because she did not allow them to sit there and say all kinds of nasty, ignorant, bigoted things. And she spoke up and said, no, we're not doing this, at least not while I'm here, not in my presence. And they really think it's some kind of flex, and she should be the one condemned. These people are crazy. It said the gang concluded that Meghan was a damper on the party, and beyond Harry's hearing, they questioned her wokeity. Isn't that something? Driving home after Sunday lunch, the text pinged between the cars. Oh my God, what about her? Said one. Harry must be effing nuts. Is somebody effing nuts? But this, to me, just gives you an idea of what these people, these little entitled piss ants, how they think, that you are a kind, considerate person and do not feel that it's funny to make fun of somebody who is not like you, that you are somehow something wrong with you, you wokety. Stop it. Writing this article, that Tom Bauer, I mean, all them nasty teeth in his mouth is got his brain effed up. I'm just saying. It says she's a total nightmare, said others. Beside it, Harry was unaware of his friend's reactions. The Sandringham shooting party was not the only episode that alarmed Harry's friends, and that's why they're former friends. Harry has grown up. He don't find that kind of nonsense funny. He has saw how hurtful that is. He has grown as a human being because of his marriage and his relationship with Meghan. He don't find that nonsense funny anymore. Here you are running around probably in your 40s still talking like someone in 5th grade. It's ridiculous. I'm just saying. It says the Sandringham shoot party was not the only episode that alarmed Harry former friends, because he said friends, but I believe they former friends now, to a potential trouble of Meghan could bring. 4 months later, on March 2017, a familiar gang traveled to Jamaica for a wedding for one of Harry's closest and oldest friends, Tom Skippy Inskip. Around 40 guests had gathered for the 3-day party at the Round Hill Motel in Montego Bay, with Harry playing the role of one of the ushers in service. The close knit group went so far back that all the parents in attendance fondly remembered giving Harry cottage pie and comfort during his teenage years, right, Mr. Bauer? The group keenly anticipated meeting Meghan, but was disappointed. It is alleged some of the friends said Meghan squabbled about food and was princy while refusing to engage with Harry's friend. One mother told Mr. Bauer she wasn't interested in us. I can imagine. I can't imagine. Why would she be? Y'all are a bunch of fools that find telling jokes about transgender people and feminists, and God only knows what else was said behind Megan's back, as funny. Why would she be interested in you? I'm just saying. One of the mothers told Mr. Bauer she wasn't interested in us. Why would she be? Why would she be? Y'all was a bunch of racist bigots. Why would she want to be interested in you? I'm just saying. And for her part, it seemed the feeling was mutual on Megan's side, as she disliked Inskip and his crowd. Their jokes and their attitude towards the world was unacceptable to her, wrote Mr. Bauer. The two high profile disasters sent alarm bells ringing around the group, and over the following week, Harry's friends agreed he was rushing too fast forward into marriage, claimed the book. What you need to do, what they were pretty much saying, what Harry needed to do was to find someone like Kate. Like Kate, someone who thought all this nonsense was funny. Someone without a brain, like the scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. Pretty much like that. Somebody who just absolutely would go along with any kind of nonsense that you were talking about and you were participating in. That's the kind of woman they wanted for Harry. That's the kind of woman that they thought was appropriate for Harry, but not Harry. Harry had his list, and he said that Meghan was the list. He never wanted anybody like Kate. He never found them interesting. He wanted someone like Meghan. And that is the reason why these friends are former friends right now, because Harry outgrew them. And that's what men do. You once was a boy, and then you become a man. And if your friends don't do that transition with you, you have to leave them behind. And that's exactly what happened. Harry left them behind. And they mad about it. That's all I'm saying. And I'm going to put this up. And this is talking about this article. This particular squatter said they had never met an accomplished woman before who wasn't at their mercy financially and had a voice and the balls to call them up on their BS. No, they are so used to having women like Kate, mute women, women who are social climbing, women who are just so thrilled to be there because their one goal in life was to absolutely capture a man in that society, a man who had some money. That's all they wanted. That's all Kate's. That was Kate's number one goal. That's the reason she has no skills. She is not an accomplished woman. But that is the kind of woman Harry's friends evidently like, and the kind of woman they wanted for him. But that's not the kind of woman that Harry wanted. Harry had a list, and Harry said Meghan was that list. Harry has grown into a man. Unfortunately, his friends have not. And when that particular divide shows up in a friendship, you have to leave them behind. And that's exactly what Harry has done. He has left them behind. And let's go on. This write up isn't the flex that the toxic British media think it is. I agree. I agree. They really think that this is some kind of hit on Meghan, that Meghan would not stand for these immature, horrible, horrible individuals to talk all kinds of bigotry and misogyny in her presence. She wasn't going to stand for it. And she had the cojones to say she wasn't going to stand for it. Because at the end of the day, she had her coin in the bank. She went out to trap anybody for their coin, like Kate and Pippa and that social climbing wisteria sisters. Meghan absolutely had her own. So she stood in it and she meant what she said. And they had a problem with that because they never had met a woman like that. The only women that runs in those circles are the women whose goal in life is to get a man like them. And they're mute after that. They just go shopping and go to the parties and be in this society. But Meghan could have cared less about that nonsense, and she showed them that because she packed up her baby and packed up her prince and packed up everything that she brought over there and came back home. Kate would never have them kind of balls because Kate is not a woman of substance like Meghan is. I'm just saying. It says the British media thinks that it is, meaning that it's a flex. It says it just confirms what arseholes run in the royal circles and how comfortable in the company they are to be able to speak derogatory about women without being challenged because to them it's the norm. Where is the lie? I'm just saying. I'm going to pick this up. This squatty says this. They want Harry and Meghan to break up so badly. They have now coined the phrase professional separation to make it sound like that their marriage is deteriorating. Let's face it. Have you ever heard those two words ever used when talking about any other couple? No, they made it up. They absolutely created that out of whole cloth just to absolutely have something to write about when it comes to Harry and Meghan because there's no such thing as professional separation. It's a husband and wife living their life. Unless both are doctors and working in the same building or same profession and they have their practice together. It's not unheard of for a husband and wife to work together, but that is not the norm. That's it, that's the exception. I'm gonna put this one up and it says Prince William and Kate Middleton are the definition of professional separation. Prince William and Kate Middleton doctored photo scandal, looting British taxpayers' money, fake cancer, and William and Kate's separate lives, deteriorating marriage is in front of the world's eyes. Boy, it's the lie. Now, if they want to look for professional separation, look over there. Look close to home because over here in Montecito, California, all's good. Everybody's good over here. They are just living their lives like normal people. I'm just saying. And I want to put this one up. This one says the Rangers waiting for Harry and Meghan to divorce. I love it. I love it. And I hope this comes true. I do. I do. All right, y'all. I'm going to put the clowns up. Charles. Charles is a clown. And if we didn't know he was a clown before this particular podcast, we know he's a clown now. But I always have known Charles was a clown. I mean, I still go back to what that particular commenter said on Kaiser's um, article and said that, yes, in court records, Charles said, this clown right here said that the public would not be upset if Harry and his family was KILL. He said that. And that is the reason why he does not feel that Harry should have security. How can you ever forgive your father for that? I'm just saying. Clown, clown, clown. This is why I put this clown up every podcast. And now I'm gonna put his son up. This clown. Ah, just think about having this as a brother. Someone who actually hates you for no other reason than you and you are successful. Isn't that some clown? But all I can say to that is I'm going to put this up. I tell you what, if you mess with Harry and Meghan, you're messing with the Sussex Squad. And if you're messing with the Sussex Squad, you might just get your face ate off. I'm just saying. Bye.